My name is Daniel Posney. This is called Shifting Perspectives. And the topic that's coming up this morning is about when you feel a certain way inside, maybe a negative feeling, and what you show to the world is not that. And believe me, I know what that feels like. You're in the store, you feel like crap, and someone that you really love comes up and asks how you're doing, and you're in line. It's not the time to talk about how crappy you feel. Or maybe it is, but sometimes we feel like we don't really have the permission to feel the way that we really want to feel, and know that it's going to be temporary, and it doesn't mean some permanent thing about us, but that's not the way the world shows itself to us. And in fact, with all the social media that we have going on, it's all about the amazing life that you have and how happy you are and all that. And there's not many videos or ones that want people that don't want to watch these videos about how shitty you're feeling today or how depressed you are and that kind of thing. That stuff doesn't really get a lot of hits. So I want to address this, and I want to start off by just slowing myself down, because in my past videos, I'm trying to get a lot out in about 10 minutes. And I want to just slow down and just go into some compassion for people that are going through this, and for myself that have gone through this. I feel really great now, but I know that I really remember that feeling of being in a state where no one knows how full of anxiety or depression or sadness that I am in that moment. And I'm putting on a happy face for the moment, but I'm just waiting to get out of there so I can just, be with my emotions honestly. So I guess the thing that I want to address is we're told that we're supposed to be healthy and happy, and do whatever we can to put on that bright face and jump through the air on the shores of the beach with the seagulls flying in the background, and all is well. And that's awesome. And I know that, sometimes it takes some time for us to get there or get back to that place. And there isn't a lot of space for just working with that and not having to go into, one end of the extreme, mental ward, heavily medicated. And that's what we tend to do to society, is medicate our society, and so that they don't feel. I remember one guy that I had in a session, and he had some kind of emotional thing going on, and the doctors labeled it as a certain thing, and then the doctor said, well, what we need to do is we need to go into your spine and we'll block off that emotion. That's like, I think I remember laughter coming out of my mouth. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, but that's insane to block that emotion, because it's something that, it's too hard or it's too difficult to bear. Wow. Actually, the most difficult thing that I see in the work that I do is, actually, it just happened a few days ago with this young guy, really intelligent guy, who's in college, and he was completely shut down emotionally and barely looked at me, was always kind of looking over my head or around me, and looking down at the floor. And when I tried to kind of pull from him what his feelings were, it was just a lot of blankness there. And I got a couple things out of him, but that is the most difficult thing that I can witness, is someone that has their emotions blocked off. And for someone that's, full of emotion, and they're full of anger and sadness, and I think that's awesome, because that person is expressing themselves. Now, of course, that has its limits too. We don't want to go into rage and anger so we're hurting other people, but I've had rage, I've had anger, and I'm glad that it got out of my system so that I can feel it, because I was pushing that away for so long. But for this guy, it was really difficult to pull anything from him. And I know part of that reason is maybe it was his upbringing, maybe it was his childhood, maybe he had a perfect childhood, and it's just society and TikTok and Twitter and all these different things that say you shouldn't have any negative emotions going on. So what does he do? He stuffs himself down and doesn't, he's just going to say, I'm not going to express anything for fear of being judged or having the feelings of guilt and shame. So kind of the question I ask is that if there is this feeling that you can't be on the outside what you're feeling on the inside, whether you're in a crowded store or you're with your best friend, there is some feeling that needs to be looked at. What is it that you think that you're going to feel if you do express yourself honestly? And usually that's some kind of guilt or shame. So that feeling is has been so ingrained in the psyche that it's such a terrible feeling of what comes from expressing yourself honestly, openly, emotionally. And that tends to be some feeling like guilt and shame, embarrassed, not worthy, not lovable, all those kind of things. And of course, those are the most of the common things that I come across is those feelings of lack of self-worth and all that stuff. So it's actually it's a simple process. Is if you're going through your life and you're saying, I'm just trying to get through this day, I'm just trying to get through this week, can I get through this month? Shit, man, if this year would just get on, I could just get through this year. And we have this feeling like there's this timeline going on from January to December or January to January, that's the timeline. But of course, stuff in our life doesn't really follow that timeline, except for, a lot of stuff comes up during Christmas time and Thanksgiving and birthdays and graduations and all that stuff. But it doesn't really follow a real timeline. So one of the things that you can start to kind of look inside with is if you're feeling that way, let me go back into what I've done it with myself. If you're feeling that way of no one should see the way that I really feel, I'm just going to keep on putting on this mask. The one thing that I needed to realize is that it was temporary. And sometimes the reason why I was feeling this is because I was indeed out of alignment with my soul. I wasn't totally messed up. Wasn't totally broken. It wasn't all those things that my mind wanted to tell me, but I was definitely out of alignment. I was out of integrity with myself. That's a deep breath to realize, oh my gosh, like I get a little emotional thinking about that I have been in integrity with my own self, that my soul, who is the spirit, God who's animating my body, I haven't been in alignment with that. And it's one thing, it's really easy to be in alignment or in integrity with other people. But when you're out of it with yourself, God, that one really hits deep with me. Not that I put myself on like high standards of being anything. It's just that little boy in there just wants to be loved and just wants to be happy. And when I'm not in alignment with myself and in integrity with that, that's the one that really hurts. So I just kind of sit with that. So, okay, I just haven't been in alignment. Shit, that hurts. What can I do about this? Anything? And at first the mind goes, no, there's nothing you can do. Your life just sucks and this is the way it is. But that's not the truth. The truth is, and it's kind of led in by these questions, is have you been doing everything you can? And I don't mean getting smarter. I don't mean doing more. What I mean is that things that you might have scuffed off maybe as something that wouldn't work for you, or why should you do that kind of thing? And it goes back to something that I would say, like, why would you even run a race / live your life with even a penny in your pocket, to weigh you down? And same thing with your life. Why would you sabotage yourself? There's the question. So we'll get to that in a minute, but there's the question. Why would you sabotage yourself? Why would you make it harder for yourself? You could feel that one inside there, but we'll hold that one off to the side. So then you say, okay, what if I didn't sabotage myself? What if I actually took control of my body by fasting or cleansing, or at least pulling back on alcohol and sugars and meats and stuff like that, that could kind of make it harder for your body, and do your own thing with it, but at least pull back on some things. And this is what I've seen in my own life. If I'm on a fast or a cleanse, I'm doing a parasite cleanse, and I just got off of a week-long juice and water cleanse, or juice and water fast. And I'm getting ready to do another one, because I know it makes me really clear, and it gets me more in control of my body. My body's saying, go out and eat this, or, you should eat this. So the question is, have you been doing everything? Have you been taking care of yourself? Have you been doing yoga in the morning? Or at least, if you're not into yoga, have you been stretching? Have you been meditating? If you're not into meditating, pray. If you are not into qigong, have you been into bouncing? Getting a little trampoline and bouncing for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time on the bouncer. So you see where this is going. You start asking yourself, well, wait a minute, have I doing everything on this? And I want to take you over to this path over here of, imagine yourself that you died, and you've done this whole life, and you had one. We all get this one shot, at least in this body, we get this one shot to go be Daniel Posney, be Jim Jones, be Marilyn Monroe. Why can't I say that word? Joe Biden. We have this shot of being that one personality. We're in service to that personality, to that being. And then let's say that personality, that person is done, and there's not going to be another one like that. And then you look back at that life and you go, okay, how could I have stirred up more love in the world? How can I have shown my heart more? And I think, should I just like put on a clown costume and dance to the middle of the street just to freak people out? And, it just kind of makes me wonder, like, what else could I have done to kind of make sure that I'm known here, that I'm expressed here, not as an egoic state, but to say, my soul loves this body, loves this personality, loves this character. Let's go. So it's that kind of thing. I'm not here, to make sure that my name gets remembered, that kind of thing, but make sure that my soul and my character both together, this partnership, does what it's supposed to do, is who they're supposed to be, without any inhibitions, at least in that one personality. And I kind of think about that and go, okay, I'm not a Cyndi Lauper. I'm not a Cyndi Lauper, like really wild and, kind of crazy. I love that, but that's not who I am this time. But I'm going to make sure that who I am, that what comes naturally to me, gets expressed, and that I have no regrets at the end of the life. So that is a little sidetrack that we can kind of look back at us and kind of give us a little bit of motivation to step out of our own beliefs and our own conditioning and that kind of thing, to say, I know my mind wants me to do this one thing, but damn it, I'm going to be this other thing. So just a sidetrack. So back to the other thing about, why would you sabotage yourself? It's a crazy idea, right? Why would I go through life and make it harder for myself? Well, you probably know the answer to that. It's because someone told you you're not worthy or lovable or significant, or you believe that, or you consider that, you had that idea somewhere that got in there. And it didn't have to be a blatant understanding from someone or blatant words from someone. It could be just perceived. And that's all it takes for the subconscious mind. So something happened to make you believe that. And that, to me, is one of the essential core reasons why we will not express ourselves. We will not be who we're meant to be. Or when we're having a crappy day, that just sit in that crappiness and be in that feeling. We're trying to run away from these feelings that don't feel very good. Sadness, depression, anger, rage, all those kind of things. But again, if you were to come back to that place of looking back at your life, you might say, let me go back there and feel sadness. Let me go back there and experience anger. If I get one shot to come back and do one thing, and that one thing is going to help this progression of my soul's evolution, and it's anger, let me go experience anger. Our ego wants to go in and experience just pure happiness. That's one thing. But our soul, our beingness just wants to be here. And if that is in anger or sadness, maybe that's what it is. So I know this is kind of a touchy subject because it kind of hits on our buttons of, I'm just trying to be happy. But maybe your search for happiness is not the push away of the feelings of sadness. Maybe your search for happiness is not the pushing away of the feelings of sadness and anger and rage and all those things. In fact, there's a really good movie that kind of reminds me about this. It's called Hector in the Search for Happiness. And it's about the psychiatrist. And he's trying to help his patients. And he doesn't even know what happiness is. And he goes out on this journey around the world and he discovers kind of what I was saying there is that sometimes happiness comes up wrapped up into sadness and rage and all those kind of things. And those negative emotions are the catalyst for that. Another good movie is Inside Out. It's a kid's movie, but it's actually great for adults to understand how, they've got these different elements of the psyche and different emotions. There's anger, there's fear, there's worry, there's happiness, and happiness wants to be in charge all the time. And every time sadness comes in, I want to press the button, and happiness gets in her way and she moves her out of the way so we don't feel sadness. But without giving you away the whole movie, sadness and anger and fear and worry, they all play a part in the being and also in the happiness. So I guess that's my roundabout way of saying that these feelings of that I can't feel what I'm feeling, or I need to put on this different face for people, that's fine. I understand, not bringing people down and it's not the appropriate time and that kind of thing. But there is something that you can do when you're by yourself or when you're with a trusted friend, is just to kind of investigate that a little bit. Really doesn't need to be an hour or 2 hours. It could be 5 to 15 minutes of just, okay, why is it that I don't? It's asking those questions that your mind says, don't ask those questions. Don't look behind the curtain. But when you do, you can look at that and say, okay, and you can start to separate out your mind and your negative emotions and all that psyche out onto the side here, and you can start to look at it. You don't have to be a psychiatrist to do something like this. You don't have to label all this stuff. You just have to feel. So you open that up and you say, okay, why is it that I don't want to feel this way? Well, because my mom was really pushed me, or my father really pushed me, or I was abused, or where something happened to make me squash down. What sometimes happens is a little girl gets raped, maybe by a family member or someone close, and then she doesn't feel like she can tell her mother, and maybe she has, and her mother doesn't believe her. That little girl will learn that it's not safe to express your emotions. And so what do? I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah, everything's great. And they go through their life that way, just kind of very scared of any negative emotions, because how they'll be judged or squashed down, or those feelings of suppression will come back up. So, but those things are in the past, and they're very real feelings and emotions, and it happened, and now you're here. And now you get to take charge of your life and get to expand yourself and to feel these things in a safe place with yourself. So what I kind of attributed, or what I kind of use a metaphor for this is, it's kind of like that train's been going down the track, and you're slowly putting on the brake. Not anything really big that is going to stop the whole thing and the whole world stops, although that happens too. But you could just slowly kind of put on the brake and say, I'm going to take myself back from doing, and all this anxiety and all these things that have kept me distracted. little by little, I'm going to pull back a little bit, pull back on my sugars and alcohols and those kind of things, do a little bit of intermittent fasting to kind of get control of my environment. And then I start to look at myself a little bit more. And maybe you want to seek some help of a a counselor or a coach or a mentor or somebody that can go that deep with you. So it's really something that you can start out doing just by kind of doing this thing called self-inquiry. And if you want to know more about, what words to put and what that means and all that, there's a great book called The Power of Now that helps me to kind of distinguish what this is and all the kind of words to the things so I can understand it in my brain. But the main thing is that for you to start to tap into the feeling, expanding your feelings and expanding your emotions, that it's safe to feel all these different things in kind of little tidbits to start. Then what happened with the kind of the I guess you call it the end game, or what the thing that you might experience is that you could feel all emotions, and you could be healthy in all those emotions and just stand there going, okay, wow, this is what it feels like to be a human being. And it's a beautiful feeling to be completely powerful like that, to be empowered like that. So I hope you'll take that in the best way. I love you. Thank you. Bless you. Have a wonderful day.